What's going on, everybody? It's Conti here, and this is my Magic the Gathering deck. The first card in my deck, the Siren Storm Tamer, very cheap. If you lay an island mana down on your first go, then this can be introduced to the battlefield straight away. I like the fact that it has flying ability as well, which will obviously help counter those in the opponent's side. Should the opponent play a spell card later on in the game, when you've assembled a big team full of powerful cards with greater attack and defense numbers than this one, then you can sacrifice this to counter the spell. Another small price card here, the Kumena's Speaker. I'm going to have a load of these Merfolk cards as well in my deck, as you'll see later on. This one here only requires one forest mana, very cheap, easy to get on the battlefield, and if you have an island as well, then you get the extra attack and defense strength also. So worth having at least one of these as well in your deck. Previously in my deck I had the Disperse card, but what I like about this one here in particular, Blink of an Eye, is it costs the same as Disperse. Enables you obviously to return a card either to your hand or the opponent's, and also you have the draw a card as well if you do the kicker option also. So just a little bonus there as well, which I thought made this one better than the Disperse card I previously had. Another cheap blue option here, again another Merfolk card. The River Sneak I feel is a very handy card to have. Not only is it easy to get onto the battlefield as well with few mana, but also the counters can be added to this quite easily as well. You'll find that when you build a big Merfolk team together, they seem to add counters to one another as well. And this one also obviously can't be blocked by any of the opposition players if you choose to attack. So very handy card to have. What I like to do is keep an eye on what the next card is in the deck, and then there'll be a lot of time as well where all of us have been there as a Magic the Gathering player, where you're looking at the card on the top of your deck and then realising that it's not necessary. So what you would wish to do then is to move it to the graveyard and gamble on the next card underneath that being much better and more necessary for you. So I went for the Search for Azcanta. Great defender, this one here, one of my favourites, the Wall of Mist. One of the main flaws, obviously, it has no attack power, and another issue as well is that it doesn't counter flying creatures. However, at the very beginning of the game, where I tend to play this one as well because of its cheap mana cost, it does stop any early attack moves from the opponent as well. So that's pretty handy. I've got two of those. Cards that explore as well, obviously it's handy for you as well to explore, to see the next card on the top of your deck and move that into the graveyard if necessary, or keep it in your library, a bit like for the Search for Azcanta card. But obviously with this one here, you're playing a creature on the battlefield as well, and most of the time as well you do have counters put on this as soon as you play it. So I do like this Merfolk card in particular. The issue with a lot of the Merfolk cards is that you don't tend to have too many flyers, so what I do need to have as well somewhere in my deck is some spell to counter the flying cards that the opposition might have. So I have one Plummet. Personally, I prefer a card where you can destroy an opposition card, a bit like the Murder or the Shock or Lightning cards as well that you have in the black and red card sets as well. This one here, I've got a couple of those as well, so that if I have creatures out in the field already facing opposition cards also, then I could play this as well and hopefully deal some damage. Very cheap as well. The only problem is if your battlefield is empty or if you've only got defenders, then this card here won't be of much use to you. So I've got a couple of those just in case. Where I tend to use this card is if I've set some of my Merfolk players up to attack and I see that my opposition player is going to be blocking those. What I could do, should the blocker be more powerful, is I can play this card to obviously enhance my attack and defense to hopefully at least equal the opposition players or overwhelm them, so that once my players do go in for the attack, then it's going to be the opposition team that lose out when their own defenders are destroyed. So a nice card to play here, very sneakily as well, if you're in that situation. Otherwise, good card to play as well when you've got a load of merfolk cards on the battlefield as well, and you're trying to set up a defense against a pretty overwhelming attack. So I have one of those. Another relatively cheap card here to place on the battlefield. Not too much mana required here. I like the fact that you can also shift counters from one player to another, from one creature to another. Should I have played one of these counters here on the wrong Merfolk Warrior, for example, I could also use this to shift the counter. For the same price, one forest, one island, the Merfolk Mistbinder. Really handy as well if you've got loads of other Merfolk Warriors already on the battlefield. One issue I do have with this as well is that its defense is quite low, so I tend to play this one late on as well, where I have a decent number of cards already out in the battlefield already, so this one doesn't become an obvious target for the opposition. If the opponent doesn't destroy my creatures, what they tend to do as well is cast spells, which end up with me automatically having my cards from my deck or from the battlefield being placed into the graveyard. So I have this standing by as well. If the graveyard is building up with loads of my cards, then I can use these to put those cards back into the deck and hopefully get them back into the library again at some point during the game. I've got 4 of these here as well, still considering maybe reducing it to 3, but it's so handy having one of these. If you aren't willing to spend mana on new creatures, or if you can't afford the cards currently in your library, then what I tend to do as well is keep those manas untapped and then wait for the opponent to have a go and then use one of these if I've got 3 cards available, obviously the 2 islands and an extra mana of any type, so that I can counter any spells or any particularly powerful creatures as well that the player puts forward in their go. So I have 4 of those at the moment, really handy. I thought I'd get a flying creature in there as well. I don't have too many of those in the green part of my collection, obviously, and what I like about this Tempest as well is that the attack increases as well with the number of island mana you have, and obviously as well it's good for attack moves. It can evade creatures on the ground, so good little card to have there. I do enjoy using these water knots as well when the opponent plays a card and then it's my turn as well. I can use these basically to put the creature that I choose in lockdown in the opponent's side. The only issue is that the creature in the opponent's half will still be out in the battlefield, so even though this creature is still under a spell, they probably could still do spells themselves, such as take away health from yourself or create other tokens as well, which in this case here will be probably better off to try and destroy them rather than using this one here. Obviously they won't be able to defend an attack, but they may still be able to do damage to your team in other ways. So careful as to which card you play this on. I have one of these standing by. Again, when I'm looking to make a big assault on the opponents, I may choose to enhance the attack and defense of one of my cards by playing this one here. If you have a big number of forest mana down on your side as well, obviously the better, the more stronger your card will be. Just be careful though as well, if your creature that you lay this down is taken out at any point, then this card will disappear also. But like I say, once the opponent is at a point where they have no mana to spend, they can't counter spells, and you're ready to make that last attack move, then this is a good one to play. If it's not the opponent's creatures that are doing the damage, then it's going to be their enchantments. So what I like to have is some counter spell, some instant to tackle those. What I tend to use the Crushing Canopy for is the destroying of a target enchantment, and again not too bad cost wise, and I can also use it as well, just like what I did with the Plummet, to destroy creatures with flying. Again, another one of my favourites, another Merfolk Warrior. Like with the previous one I showed you, this one can explore as well. I can check what's at the top of my deck, and this normally enters the battlefield with a counter on it as well. So very handy to have. and not too bad price wise. I have one of these Jungleborn Pioneers as well. I like the fact that it can create a hex-proof token as well, rather than just playing one card. You get two for the price of one if you like, and what I feel you can do with the hex-proof token as well is enhance that as well. For example, playing the Blanchwood Armor, for example, because the opponent can't obviously counter or can't cast a spell against the hex-proof tokens. Couple of sorcery cards here as well. I tend to use this, like with the Crushing Canopy, to destroy enchantment. If I'm desperate for other creatures, for my own defense to be on the battlefield as well, then I would go for the first option of creating a White Elf Knight creature, although that particular one there as well isn't the strongest card, but at least it gives you additional fire and defense power, I suppose. One of the best things about this card, although it can be tricky to do because you'll end up tapping a lot of your Merfolk cards in the process, is that you can use this to draw a card as well from your deck, which could also possibly be playable like an additional mana or creature. I feel it's a good defender as well. Price wise, it's not too bad with 3 mana. Obviously a couple of them need to be different colours, something that could be good to play pretty much any time of the game, early or late on, because of its big defense, and you can possibly also counter attacking creatures as well, destroying them, but also keeping hold of this card as well because of its high defense power. And if you have loads of Merfolks doing damage, then this one on the battlefield as well will help you draw loads of cards as well, see what's in your deck, and it's got decent defense as well. If I have a large number of creatures out on the battlefield and I'm ready to make a final attack move, then I tend to play this card here as well, so that the opponent's defense is down and I can make one last sweeping attack move. The good thing about it is that the opponent's cards will also be tapped during their turn and your subsequent turn as well, so very effective this one here. I've got a couple of those standing by. You can also send the opponent's creatures to sleep using this card here. Again, Tempest Caller has got a very good defense number as well. If I'm sort of short of numbers on the battlefield here, I feel this is a handy card to have as well. It just creates 3 not so strong sap-rolling creature tokens, but at least you've got the numbers up as well. Slightly more pricey Merfolk card here, but very handy, particularly late on as well if you have applied loads of counters to your cards as well. Then you can use the pay 4 plus a forest and island mana to give all these countered creatures trample, which will be handy as well, particularly for one last assault. Very strong in terms of attack and defense, so pretty handy card to have. And here's another card with 4 for attack and 4 for defense. The main benefit obviously for this one here is that it can fly also. Everybody hates playing against these, everybody loves playing with these. The main benefit of this obviously being the tokens, which could be powerful. The only issue I do have with this one here is that the defense is quite low, so it could be vulnerable as well to a lot of counter spells by the opponent, so just watch out for the amount of tapped mana that the opponent has if it's your go. An expensive but worthwhile card having in your deck as well, should it get to the point as well where the opponent's camp seems quite overwhelming, then you can use this to basically send all the cards back to their hand. Another one we all love playing with but hate playing against. It's great that any spells or instances can't counter this particular card here as well. It's expensive but definitely worth having standing by if you have green cards in your collection. The only way to really counter this card at all is to set a load of your creatures already out in the battlefield on this to block it. Again, another expensive card here, and one I tend to save till a point when the opponent doesn't have so many manas available to pay for a counter spell and I'm making one last assault. If I were to put this one down as well, it would be on any creature which is just about to make an attack against any creature with a +7 for attack and defense. It gives the opponent's cards very little chance in defending against that. Now, I have more than the recommended deck number of 60. My deck contains 71 cards in total, and I've got 25 manas altogether, including 2 with multiple colours as well. I feel if you start increasing your deck from 60, I think after every 10 it's safe to increase the number of mana you have for each colour by 1, just to obviously increase the chances of you getting that drawn from your deck during the game. So let's see how this team does against another player. So at the start, I don't have so much mana available, so what I'm probably going to do is mulligan. It's a shame because I like some of the cards I've got here as well. It's a good counter, for example, against any powerful player, or any powerful creature, sorry, that the opponent may play early on. So mulligan it is. Slightly better here, at least I've got my mana here. I haven't got so many warriors that I can attack with, obviously, here, but at least we'll have something to play into. So I'm going to keep this one here rather than risk going down to 5 cards with barely any mana at all. Oh, and at the top of my library I already have the dinosaur. So what should I do? Should I keep this at the top, put it into my library to save it later on, or do I move this to the bottom and hope that I have a playable creature and hope that I have a cheaper creature to play with? I'm going to click on done. I'm going to take the risk. So I'm going to be playing against a team with whites. I'm going to put my mixed mana in first of all. If I do that early on, it always gets tapped, so best to get that one out of the way. Then I have a bit of flexibility in my next go here, because I could play either blue or green. Don't have any warriors to play with, so I'm going to play another mana. I'm going to put the island as well. In my next go I've got 2 forests anyway, and I'm sure I'll be able to afford any warrior that comes my way very shortly. And there's another forest card here. Again, can't quite afford this one just yet, the Merfolk Wizard, but getting there. Got one more forest to play down. Hopefully I'll get a cheaper creature drawn next. Oh, got a Wall of Mist, always handy to have at the beginning. So there goes my forest, and in goes my Wall of Mist. Shame I can't destroy that one straight away, but at least hopefully with this one here I can block any damages coming from this particular elf knight here. It says that it can create a white soldier creature with lifelink as well. We don't want so many of those. We don't want the strength of the opponent to enhance during the game, so hopefully we'll take care of this one soon. Oh, having said that, that may have to wait. I'm going to go nice with that one there. That was a good move. Maybe a bit risky from them playing that straight away. I mean, they've played 1 card, the creature, and then 1 card for the enchantment. So the issue with that is that now I've got cards on my table as well, which, yeah, obviously I can play and counter those enchantments. But if you don't give the opponent any other target to basically look at, then you're just setting up the one in the battlefield as well for failure, because which one am I going to go for? This one here, target enchantment, and I'm going to get rid of the Blanchwood armor and get that strength back down to 2. And again, like I mentioned before, I think it's handy as well if you have multiple creatures on your table as well, so that you don't make any obvious targets. And this one here, the opposition player decided to put that one down, and it was obvious what I was going to go for. Now, I can't stand this card. Not only is it flying, but obviously it's given hexproof power to the other players in there. What I'm going to do now though is hopefully take this one down. I've just seen that the opponent only has 1 mana available, so I'm going to play the plummet one and destroy the flying target. I'm sure they can't afford to counter that spell there. No, good, there you go. That's a big card that I've managed to get rid of out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is get my first creature onto the field with a much stronger defense than the opposition's Elf Knight. Their health down by nearly 50% already, not good. Always the way. Now, should I sacrifice this one here? Could I wait for a spell to come around as well? I can destroy another enchantment. What I'll do, I'll wait. Obviously, next go as well. Wouldn't want to do that, otherwise I'm out of the game. Let's see what this next card here is. Not going to be enough. So what I'll probably end up doing now is playing one of these. Probably end up sacrificing one of them as well, one of my Merfolk Warriors in a block move. But at least as well I can hold out for a little bit longer. Hopefully the next card will enable me to counter this creature somehow. Let's wait and see. Now what should I do? Should I attack? Obviously that leaves me with this one as the only option to defend with afterwards. I probably will do. Yeah, let's just see what happens here. Take it down to 18. Don't really want to lose this one straight away. This one's the weaker, obviously. Let's see what they're going to do now. They've got 5 mana altogether. The only issue now is that if this one becomes tapped, then I've got no defense and I'm out of the game. Now they've got 2 players here, so I need to do 2 blocks. If they both decide to, if they're both chosen to attack, looks like it's just going to be the Elf Knight. Yeah. So I'm going to use this one here and going to counter that one. Goodbye, Tebis Caller. It was nice knowing you. Ouch. Here we have like another island one. Now, can I afford this Carnage Tyrant? Yes, I can. Right. Game on. I'd like to see you try again, Elf Knight. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to attack. I'm only going to do 2 damage. I'm going to keep both creatures back as defenders. And I'm going to see what the player does in their next move here. Obviously I can now use this particular move here to destroy this Elf Knight if I wish to. Let's just see what the next move is here. Ooh, I like that. So now I'm going to sacrifice my Merfolk. Now, I won't have enough, obviously, to destroy that particular Elf Knight here. So I'm just going to sacrifice that one, keep the Carnage Tyrant in there. And now I'm going to say goodbye to this one here. That was a close call. Hopefully this player has no more of those armor cards there. Here we go. Now, should I attack or should I stay back here? Let's have a think about this. They've got 4 cards here. I'm wondering if this is one of those players as well where they have loads of these token creation cards as well. I'll keep my 2 creatures back as defenders and see what this next move is here. Let's see if they've got many options available in their library. What I could also do now, in the next move, if all goes well, fingers crossed, is I could play my sleep card. I could do 9 damage in my next move, which will bring them down to 9. They should still be asleep in the subsequent move, and then I can deal 9 damage again. Right, here we go. So I'm going to play my sleep card. Maybe I should have put the mist binder in there. Oh well. Let's see what this one here is. Now which one should I have a go with? Let's get the mist binder in there, because that way my other Merfolk wizard will get an extra counter on it now. There you go. 3 for the attack, 4 for the defense. Now all I need is for these guys to stay asleep a bit more. No, they won't do. Okay. And therefore, what I will do, thank you Water Knot, I'm going to block this creature here. And I'm going to say goodbye, hopefully, to my opponent now. Oh, no, they've done it for me. Goodbye, good game. And there you have it. There is my green and blue team in action. That was an enjoyable game there. I thought I nearly had it then at one point. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. To support this channel, please like and subscribe. Join me soon for another video. Take care.